PR Connections Radio presents. Join the Love Yourself Foundation for LYF Voices at the Beverly Theater in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada on Saturday, November 15th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Be inspired by speakers who share stories about how they have embraced self-love and improved their lives. Enjoy art, music, sound baths, and more. Network with mental health and wellness leaders. Come and nurture your own health and well-being. For more info about LYF Voices, visit their website, thelyfoundation.org.
I guess you can be very successful without one, and probably some people do. But I would not have accomplished anywhere near what I have accomplished without a mentor. I have had a number of mentors, and my whole life has changed dramatically. I went from going nowhere to having a business that operates all over the world. If you want to win in a big way, you want to get a mentor. It's almost like getting a direct pipeline from their mind to your mind, where you're gaining all their wisdom, all their experience, and all the studying that they've done over a number of years. And like that, you get it all in a short period of time. Are mentors important? Well, I'm going to tell you, mentors literally changed the course of my life. Let's take a look at what thinking into results is and what it could do for you, how it came about. You see, my life had changed dramatically. I went from earning nothing to earning over $1 million a year. And I was sitting one day and I was thinking, how did all this happen? Do you know, I was reading Think and Grow Rich. I was studying Earl Nightingale's material. But a lot of people have read those books and studied Earl's material. And they weren't accomplishing what I was accomplishing. So I had to ask myself, what am I doing so different? You see, I had been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I was earning over $1 million a year, and I didn't think I was that bright. I was also raised to believe if you don't go to school, you can't win. Well, I hadn't gone to school. I went to high school for about 2 months. I didn't have a good job. I owned the entire company. If you want to be happy, healthy, and prosperous, it's all here. Thinking into results is going to show you how to get it. If what I've said really triggered something in your mind and you're thinking maybe, contact the certified PGI consultant. Hit the button, leave the information. Do yourself a favor. Sit down and talk to them about what this program can do for you. This very well could be the decision that will change the rest of your life.
Thank you, Bob. Welcome to Thinking in Results. It was sponsored by and supported by S&J Mentoring and PR Connections Radio. We're going to have a great story today. I wanted to do this for a long time. Thinking in Results is change your thinking, changing results. We're dealing with the mind, body, and spirit. Well, we live on our bodies and we have a whole lot of stuff going on there. And I'm not going to coach you on eating healthy, but its spirit is what we want to spend time with today. I'm a spiritual warrior. Even have a little card that says Sydney Main Street Spiritual Warrior, raising consciousness wherever I am. And that's the capital I am. The I am I'm talking about is Moses and the burning bush. Most of us have heard that story. Well, a little more detail is Moses is getting instructions on to talk to his people. And he asks the bush, who are you? The bush says, I am that I am. Moses then asks, well, who should I say sent me? The bush says, tell them I am sent you. So I am, capital I am, was God's self for itself to the children of Israel 3,500 years ago. And I discovered it, the I am, in this little book called The Impersonal Life, written in 1914. But before I get into the little book, I have something else. This is kind of old. I got it in 1985. So what's that, 40 years ago? And when it was given to me, it's a spiritual teaching to read it every night. Well, I kept it in my nightstand, and I stopped reading it every night over the years. And at some point, I stopped reading. I came to Vegas in 2003. So the change in my life came when I found this little book at the church library. Of course, it wasn't worn then. It was like it was brand new. That was February of 2011. I've read it, obviously. I stopped counting, but let's say well north of 50. I've handwritten it out twice, about 6 months each time, about 30 minutes an hour. If you ask why I did it, I don't know why. It's just that was the thought, and I never had the thought not to do it. So here's the I am message, and in this is the meditative phrase, which is "Be still and know I am God." You may or may not be familiar with that, but after a couple of weeks of working with this, I would say the God voice said, "That's probably in the Bible. Why don't you Google it?" So I Google it, and of course, this is Psalm 46:10. Be still and know I am God. So I'm really excited. I read the whole book, dance throughout the book, and then I had my papers here, and there was something in here matching up sound and color. Color being red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, and our sounds: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. So there's 7 sounds and 7 primary colors. The colors are for our eyes. This is how God created us, and the 7 notes to our hearing. So I wanted to share information in here after I read this book, and I didn't remember what was in it, but I wanted to give it to a lady at the florist about the colors and the sound. And then the thought, the I am says, "Why don't you read it?" Well, I could say it knocked my socks off, but I'm used to God's sense of humor. So I'm going to read. There's an I am meditation. I'm going to read one paragraph here. And this is the voice, the God voice, the I am speaking. I am, not your intellect or body. And this message is to teach you that you and I are one. The words I hear and speak are my I am speaking to me and my bodily functions. You're reading these words with your I am and I am life. Be still and repeat this to yourself. Here we go. Be still and know I am God. And it's spoken the way I just said it. Be still and know I am God. It tells you that, and it says, be still and know I am God. For it is I, the I am speaking, it is I within, quietly waiting for this to dawn on you. Yet while waiting, it was really I who directed your ways, who inspired your thoughts and acts impersonally, utilizing each thought and act so as to eventually bring you and my other mortal expressions to a final conscious recognition of me, the I am of you that is presently reading these words. And you can go to spiritualwarriormentor.com. It's on the screen, but people listening, and I'll repeat it again later. Spiritualwarriormentor.com. A lot of good information, and there's a place to contact me where we can talk on the phone, or we can do a Zoom. And I can get your email, and I can send you this message here. So let's get back to this book. written in the voice of the I Am. Before I found the book, even as I had read this in 1985, maybe it stuck with me. The I Am represents the God presence, and I like to say that was my intellectual understanding for 25 years, say 1985 to 2010. If you asked me what the I Am was, I said, well, that's the God presence. That is all I knew. I didn't have a relationship. Of course, I didn't know what a relationship with God was at that time. Of course, I learned in a little book. Oh, I meant to share this with you. Because I loved this, when I read it, I went to Amazon to buy some more. Well, there were only a couple black ones, but there were. It's in the public domain, so you can still go to Amazon and buy it. But I found what Elvis, you have to read this. A little book in which Elvis found the light. Well, the interesting thing is, when I was 20, I was an extra in an Elvis movie, happened at the World's Fair up in Seattle. And in between scenes, one time I got to talk to him, sitting down, chatting, and he was like the guy next door. He was just so real, I would say ordinary, just cool, just having a conversation with a kid. So that's my Elvis connection. And what else are we doing here? Oh, the first immediate impact of this book, I could say the greatest, and that is 3 weeks. I'd read the book, and 3 weeks later, I live in Vegas, had lunch at one of the casinos with a friend. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we drove separately, and of course, he went home, and I stopped to just gamble a little. Well, I gambled a lot, didn't win. And on my way home, the thought came to me, stop gambling. And I just had to hear that thought in my mind. I have not gambled in a casino, and we're looking at 15 years. Yeah, February will be 16 years. So this has had a great impact. The initial first impact was to stop the gambling, which of course made a great difference in my life. Second story, I was reading the book, there's 18 chapters, so I was reading the book every month, if not a little more. By the end of the year, I think I had read it maybe 15 times, which is irrelevant, but I'm a numbers guy. So I read it 20 plus times when the little voice, it is a big voice, but I like to use the term the little voice, said, stop reading and record it. And I've never read it out loud. It's all an inner game. And I had a digital recorder, 2010, still in the package. I never opened it up. And I happen to have the AAA batteries. It works. So I started reading. And at some time, the first reading, I recognized I just finished reading a paragraph, and I didn't know what I read. So I had a little notice. Next day I'm reading. I noticed I didn't know what I read. I just noticed. Now the third day, things happen in threes. The third day, I'm reading, and I recognized something that I didn't know what I read. And of course the voices politely, stop reading and speak your thoughts. I could have been shut up and think your thoughts, but I read through the book 3 times, 18 chapters. I had 54 readings in which I recorded them. And anytime I got a new thought, I would stop reading. It told me to speak my thoughts. So a 10-minute reading might be 15 minutes or more. A 15-minute reading, because the chapters are different, a 15-minute might be 25 or 30. And when I say 30 minutes, it's not a dissertation. It's just one interruption after another. I don't know what percentage, but let's just say 51% plus was spiritual inspiration from this book, ideas. And I was talking to someone, my sound man, before we started, and I was telling him about that. And I have an ego. I said, is anybody else teaching you that when you're recording, when a new idea comes to you, stop and speak it? So what led to the recordings, actually, before I was recording, or maybe afterwards here, I remembered a keynote speaker back 20 years ago. And I still remember what he said before he started his talk. It was, what I say here is not important. What is important is what you think. Well, it took me at least 5 years to figure that one out. And manifesting in my experience with recording in personal life, it was telling me to speak my thoughts when I got new thoughts. I don't even like to say triggered, inspired. A new thought inspired by what I just read. And I continue with whatever I'm recording or reading. I'm aware and recognizing the God thoughts. Well, I was going to have my journal in here because I like to hold up my journal. The first one, I've been reading the book for about 18 months. When someone said journaling's good. No, I tried journaling in the past. I don't think I got past the third day. But when it came to me in what I call the God thought to start journaling, so I went and got a journal, and it was like, this size. And the day I got it was, I'm a numbers guy, September 20th, 2012. And I took it home. I put a couple pins by it on the nightstand, and I was going to start that night, or maybe the next day. But during the day, I went back 3 times with a little Post-it and put that on the book because it's something that came to mind. So I'm ready for bed, and I looked down to 3 Post-its, and I'm thinking, well, I guess I'm supposed to start now. And what I discovered, if you journal, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you never journal, give it a shot. You just have to start a sentence. Just start a sentence, and the God presence will take over and keep giving you ideas related to what you're writing, the new ideas. It flows really easy, just writing down what's going through your mind. I read it 76 days in a row. The book had a lot more pages than that, but it might be 2 pages, sometimes 3 or 4. And when I finished, I had a second book, but I thought I'd take a little hiatus and wait a couple weeks to go back and start the second journal. And of course, God steps in and says, why don't you read the first one? Well, it took me about 3 weeks to read the 76 days. And I only had one thought, was, who wrote this? Because there's so much creative new ideas in there that I've been journaling ever since. But the first experience was just the most dramatic. I said traumatic, but getting to know myself and being able to write down my thinking. Let's see what else I had here. Oh, yes. Maybe 2 weeks into the journaling, the thought came to me to write letters of forgiveness, letters to write people to forgive me for, I like to say, for my transgressions, real or imagined. I only say that because I think it's funny. So about 2 weeks in, names were coming to me. And these were people, basically, they had passed, or I didn't know where they were. And I'd get a couple each day, new names were coming to me. So I ended up writing 15 letters asking for forgiveness. And then when I finished that, then the idea, and I wrote a letter to God. Next time I do an IM, I'll read it. But I'm writing a letter to God in gratitude for all that I have and my commitment. I must say to stay in my conscious mind, to recognize, I would say, I get confused, I'll try not to cry. Because I put it in the letter to God that I'm living in He's in my presence. I know that hourly, I know it daily, hourly, minute by minute, I'm aware, which allows me to jump into what I call paying attention. I pay attention to my thinking. And what I'm talking about now is on the spiritualwarriormentor.com. I pay attention to my thinking and I'm discerning the God thoughts, creative thoughts from the everyday mundane affairs, or people say, the monkey chatter. So I pay attention, and what I teach, I pay attention to my thinking. I discern the God thoughts. With faith and courage, I take the action I'm compelled to do, without consideration of the results. In other words, my judgment on the results. Whether do I like it or I don't like it. If I like it, that's sort of like a foundation of whatever I was doing or thinking to continue in that direction. But the best part, and I can never say the best part without smiling, the best part is you get a chance to take another look, bring another perspective to what you were trying to do. Because the good one didn't happen. You got the one that didn't work. Well, that's the magic, is that's where the lesson is. That's where we learn. Matter of fact, Bob Proctor, who was in our video at the beginning, one of his key phrases was, and it's 2 words, keep learning. I will confess, I'll be 84 next month in December. I've been studying all my life, and it never stopped into retirement. And people say, why aren't you playing golf? I live in Sun City, Summerlin, and there's 3 golf courses. And I played some, but not in recent years, because I'm too busy studying and sharing information like this. So I digressed. I'm not sure where I am here. Oh, paying attention. It's so important. Life is lessons. And there's an opposite for everything. Polarity. The law of polarity, good and bad, right and wrong, black and white, up or down, hot or cold. That's how the universe is and how we interact with it. It's either good or it's bad. Everything has an opposite. So there's a good in everything. And I like to say, well, the good in everything can really look bad, but it's a lesson. It's a lesson to what was bad, that there's some lesson in there. It might just be learning patience. Where are we? Oh, checking. I got 2 things. One way of using the seven words, be still and know I'm God. This is back a few years. I noticed that just listening to talk radio, there'd be issues, things being brought forward and people being upset, and I would get upset. I have emotions on it, whether it's positive or negative. I'm thinking along a particular line. I could call it a rabbit hole. A good rabbit hole, a bad one, but either way, they're bringing in emotion, plus or minus, that I would say it interrupts my normal thinking. I used to drive to California from Vegas, and it was 9 hours to the Bay Area. And people would say, why are you doing that? Why don't you fly? I said, because I got 9 hours in which I get to think. I really like thinking. I really like my ideas. So, getting bad thoughts, negative thoughts, I want to neutralize them. I have to do an opposite. I have to release them, replace them with a positive statement. You can say we're changing our paradigm to some new thoughts. And I would repeat slowly, be still and know I am God. And I would say that 3 times in that slow, deliberate manner. And for a little bit, it could be a couple of weeks, but a little bit, saying it 3 times, 21 words was working. And then they go, no, I better do it 7 times because it's 49. And of course, being from San Francisco, the 49ers saying this 7 times. I like those things. That's basically what I do now when I'm in motion, like in the car. But the best thing that came out of this is the intentional meditation. And what do I mean by that? What's sort of like a prayer, where we're asking for something. But this is what I developed. And where did that come from? Well, it came from up there. Came into my conscious mind. Be still and know I'm God. I humbly ask for clarity, guidance, understanding of the I am message. Thank you, God, and so I am. Now I'm using it as an example because it's something that I live with, is deeper and deeper in understanding the I am message. But it can be any problem that you have, any issue, whether it's a relationship, it's something at work, something that you're stuck on. You do that. Be still and know I'm God. I humbly ask for clarity, guidance, and understanding of I am message. But you want to repeat that. You can write it down till you memorize it, but you want to repeat it. Well, I have to tell you this. You want to write it out 100 times. It doesn't take that long. You want to write out, be still and know I'm God. I humbly ask for clarity, guidance, and understanding of the I am message, or whatever you've got going. Once you've written it out, then you record it. So now you get to listen to it. And as you have other issues coming up, you can do the same thing for them. So you can be listening to them throughout the day. There was something else. Oh, yes. The spiritual warrior, Sydney Maestri, spiritual warrior, raising consciousness wherever I am. And we're talking about the I am, recognizing and knowing the I am presence, the God presence within you. And when you speak it, you still know of God. Your conscious mind is speaking it to your subconscious, or into the God consciousness. So it's kind of a circle of you knowing what you're doing, you're knowing the meaning of it. So getting back to a few weeks before I found the book. Oh, I forgot to tell you. Your Personal Life by Joseph Benner, Benner, on Amazon, Joseph Benner. And on YouTube, there are people recording this and reading it. So I'm in the seminar, and it's just vivid as yesterday. Sunday afternoon, I got a notebook, halfway through it with my notes, and then the thought, I'm a spiritual warrior, just as loud as can be. Open the front page, right-hand corner, I say at 4 o'clock, I wrote it in. And then a month later, I was going to go to a big fundraiser, and Bob Proctor was going to be the co-host. And I had a business card. I need a special card for Bob. So I have these that I've been giving to special people, but I gave it to Bob. He looked at it and he says, give me another one. And I thought, oh, that's cool. I didn't know Bob Proctor ever asked for a second business card. But I found a book that I liked called The Dalai Lama's Cat. And then I wanted to make a movie out of it. And I wanted to give Bob the book. And Sandy Gallagher, his partner, was at the table with their assistant. I'm talking to Bob. I give him the book, give him 2 cards, and the following week I go to another seminar of his, and he tells me, Sandy loved your book. I said, what book? He said, well, the cat book. I said, well, I gave it to you. He says, well, I gave it to Sandy, and she loves it. So that's sort of another experience with Bob Proctor and the spiritual warrior. Thank you so much for being here. The website again is spiritualwarriormentor.com. I'll have my partner John Gage on the show next week, and he's been studying this for 6 or 7 years. So we'll be exchanging some ideas, the impact it's had on us and the people around us. So with that, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you next week, Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Namaste.
Did you know your clothing could help balance your body's pH levels? Our cutting-edge fabric technology naturally promotes optimal pH balance, helping you feel energized, refreshed, and at your best every day. Use promo code PRTalk for more info. Tap the link in the description or contact our experts at 702-445-9488 to learn more.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.